Mhm.
And let me say this. So you won the hot seat because you did a detailed post in regards to your success, which is how I even kicked off that hot seat. You're not the only one. There's another person from the city of Chicago. And so one, I want you to tell everybody what your recent accomplishment was.
Okay, so I was recently asked earlier this year, I was asked by my broker to step up into the role as vice president for education and training. It totally caught me off guard. And he had basically, invited me to lunch. And, we have been friends for a while. So I thought we were just, shooting the breeze. And he said, I want you to step into this. I'm like, step into what? He's like, I want you to take this over for me and just do it and run with it. And so I feel like this huge duty and responsibility now to help all of the agents in my company to grow their business. And one of the things that I did recently was, how important business planning is for all of the agents.
Yes.
And how it's like pulling teeth to get agents to complete the business plan. So Realty One Group, I'm with Realty One Group Capital in Alexandria, Virginia. So Realty One Group Corporate, they sent out this 26-page business plan. And I got to tell you, Marky, when I first saw it, I was like, oh my God, what the heck were they thinking? Because I thought it was just teamtoomuch.com. It was too much. And so I said, there is no way that we will get all of the agents to fill it out. Because Cam wanted me to put on a business planning webinar or virtual seminar. And so I said, well, let me just break this down. I was in the shower. I get most of my ideas in the shower. And so I said, I know what I could do. I could break this down over 30 days and do a Facebook Live, a short Facebook Live. And that way I can feed the agents bite-sized pieces so that they won't feel overwhelmed and that they can come to the business planning session with the majority of the information filled out and completed. Excellent. And so that was how I named it the Business Planapalooza. So I got my little red book out and I wrote down 1 through 30. And I wrote down one topic. And I said, you know what? This is teamtoomuch.com. Let me pare this down. So I pared it down from 30 days to 20 days. And I did 4 weeks of Monday through Friday. And every morning at 9:30, I did a 5-minute Facebook Live. And I just had the agents focus on one thing. And each Friday I did like a 30-minute fireside chat, which was Q&A. And it was good. I was very, very nervous and I didn't even tell anybody I was going to do it. So I would say that a week before I started, I went on in our office Facebook group and I told them that this was what was going to happen. And it was a success. And I'm proud of myself for having the courage to do it.
Well, congratulations. I'm proud of you for doing it.
Thank you.
And I'm going to see what your questions are because I got some ideas about what you've already done for the purpose of repurposing the content for recruiting and so many other things that you can do with it.
Mm-hmm. And I'm happy to share my workbook with the group. I created it in Canva.
Yay! So VP of Education, which now means you could parlay that into anything you want to do, whether that was going into association work, which a lot of people do transition. I would say sometime after the age of 50 because they want more Social Security benefits or whatever benefits the association is having. And I don't know if you've noticed, realtors tend not to retire, but association employees do. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to throw that out there. Okay.
Yes.
I'm ready.
Okay. You're ready. I'm ready. Okay. Woosah. All right. So you were right. My first question is, we met just before COVID at the CRS celebration in Orlando, Florida. And that was February 2020. And I was so elated and proud to see you headlining and just stepping into your light. Thank you for your energy. And thank you for your enthusiasm and just always bringing the excitement to the stage.
Thank
so
you.
At that moment, nobody saw COVID coming and nobody knew COVID was coming. The shutdowns. And fast forward to now, you're just coming back from NAR. What was it like? What did you feel? And how was the stage different at NAR versus February 2020 at CRS?
Well, the very first thing is there aren't as many people. And so at the 2019 Realtor Conference and Expo, there was a little bit over 20,000. They're now about 10,000. And I don't believe that they could handle substantially more. What I would say, what is unique is even though the conference is scaled down, we have to think about all of the systems that support any event, right? Mm-hmm. So we have restaurants, we have hotels, we have Uber drivers, we have flights. What I would say is the flights, even though you get all of this national publicity, I've had the least amount of problems with flights if I look overall at all of the issues. I would say that the hotel industry is suffering the most because not only are they not cleaning your room every single day, they don't hire enough staff to do the work that should be done when it needs to be done. So I stayed at the same hotel this time that I stayed at when I did my first Realtor Conference and Expo in 2009, and that was at the Westin. Okay. And the first couple of days, they cleaned my room, and then they went missing in action for 4 days and did not clean the room. I was there 6 days. A lot of restaurants have closed down, and then a lot of restaurants are also short-staffed, and so you don't get the same level of service you might have received. What I think that means to us in our industry is we haven't given ourselves any extra time or any grace, but we're the only people really working. Like, we're working and we haven't stopped working, okay? Right. But everybody else around us is chilling, decided they didn't want to work, taking off. So with that being said, now is the time that if you want to elevate your career, I believe business planning is more crucial now than ever before, because you can actually parlay yourself, right? Parlay into a position you might not have all the qualifications for because so many people have decided not to work. You know, so the not the job that you're just qualified for, you can really set some big, hairy, audacious goals. Whether you were trying to segue out, if you were trying to go get a job, if it was something else you wanted to do in real estate, now is that time to do it because the people don't want to work, which is baffling to me, but they don't want to work. Right. So I realized that everyone around us has stopped working while we're still working. Everything is a hybrid environment. So
I'm seeing that too.
Everything is a hybrid. Even NAR was a hybrid, right? And so we had some rooms that we actually had more people online than we had physically in the classroom, plus the video replay, which is why I was talking about you did 20 days worth of video content. They're selling replay videos, right? They're repurposing that content into other forms of content. So how do you take what you've already done, repurpose it numerous times because of the lack of organic reach now on the internet? Facebook just had a study that said that we're 5.2% in organic reach. And so I would say video is here to stay. It isn't going anywhere. And if you wanted to give back in a charitable way, you might go get a Christmas job because people need help. You know, from now until January the 1st, and acquire another skill set that would help you in the world of real estate.
Gotcha.
But I would think of it as I would think of it more as charitable, because you could actually make someone's day. You could help save a business in your community, or
That's
you could
just point.
Right. You could volunteer. Who's ever doing something for Christmas or giving to children, now would be that time to give them a helping hand because they are short-staffed.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay, next question is circling back to my role as VP of Education and Training. What advice do you have to put on trainings that will keep the attention of the experienced agents? Because what I am finding is that my newer agents and agents who are, anywhere from new to up to 2 to 3 years in the business, they show up, they're hungry and they are attentive. The more seasoned agents, they need a little bit more meat. And, you and I have been in the CRS camp for a while, and CRS, the organization Certified Residential Specialists, they're known for having very meaty classes. So what advice can you give me to bring meaty classes so that I can get the seasoned and veteran agents in my trainings?
I would want you to sit down and not necessarily find that the seasoned agent, but I will want you to find the seasoned agent who's influential. Okay.
Okay.
People follow that person. So you need to enlist 2 to 3 seasoned agents, even the owner of the company, for them to attend training, because what we have noticed, when the owner of the company, that seasoned professional, shows up, then other people follow them. They want to be around them. They want to be in their company. You don't need everyone. You just need to understand, and this would just take you observing who is that person with influence, because people will tend to do what it is that they do. Ask that person, when you're enlisting them to be present, what do they need in order to be successful? Now, to counter that, I would actually highlight the successes of a new agent who comes to class, because here's where envy will make people come to class. No one wants the new agent to outperform them. Right?
Isn't that crazy how that works?
So if that new agent, if you're highlighting that person, then people definitely are going to show up for that. So I'll give you an example. Cassandra Sneed, she might be on here, she might not. She's in our 6 figures and 12-month group, but she's one of my recruits. With that being said, she had her first $1 million month, September 2020. She hadn't been in the business full time for a year. She has already capped this year, so she's already made 6 figures, and now she's keeping 100% of her money. Well, we are getting her featured in some different publications. She's doing volunteering at the association. So I have personally witnessed the envy of our other agents around Cassandra and her success. But now people are looking at her and they're mimicking or emulating her because of her success and what it is that she does.
Gotcha.
So I would do twofold. I would identify that person who's influential, and it might not be the person with the highest sales. And you want to forge essentially a partnership. Hey, I need you to be present. What is important to you? But then I would also highlight the successes of those who come to class to show the importance. And I can tell you right now, no one wants that new agent to outproduce them. Those would be the 2 strategies that I would utilize.
Awesome. I love that. Okay. One of the regrets that I have for 2021 is that I did not take your advice that you gave us early on in 6 and 12. And that piece of advice was to get 52 interviews scheduled, to interview one person a week. I did not do that. And I wish that I had done that, just so that not only so that I could have some content that's already out there, but just so that I could become more comfortable with video, just flexing that video muscle. So what advice do you have for me to not have that regret in 2022? And do you think 52 is too much? Because I think I got a little bit overwhelmed and I got paralyzed and I just gave up. But I also think that it's a good thing for us to do.
So I have, I think, too much content, but I'm glad that I have too much content, because now I want you to start thinking about workbooks and publications and things of that nature that you can put out there for your agents. I would say 52, even though I do 52 plus interviews per year, I am personally repurposing 26 of those. Okay. Here would be an example. You go back to your broker, you tell them that you want him to buy you Restream. You're streaming your videos across 7 platforms. Okay. I'm doing 4 places in Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Amazon. Here's what I'm liking. I'm taking that same video that I live streamed, and now I'm able to set it up as an event and replay it, keeping in mind that when you go back and you look at all of the agents who attended your event, the likelihood is it may be 10% adaption rate, generally is what we're seeing. So now I'm going to pick different times to replay that video, midnight, 3 a.m. And so I'm constantly replaying that video in order to get more engagement at different times when I think people will be on the internet. So I 100% believe you should do 52, but let's come back. Let's look at that new agent that you're celebrating their successes, and let's look at the more senior tenured agent who you're trying to engage. Mm-hmm. I would want to interview week 1, what's going to help that newer agent, and then week 2, what's going to help the more tenured agent. And I'm going to interview people who are smarter, more gregarious, outgoing, have a skill set that you might not have, in order to give them the education so that you can fulfill the VP of education position more successfully.
Okay.
So I would look at the 52 weeks, and I would break that down actually into 2 sets of 26. Okay. I would focus on what's needed, or where do we have low adaption rate? Because Realty One, I know they have a lot of different tools inside of their system. Mm-hmm. So where do we have low adaption rate? You could actually reach out to corporate. They know exactly who's engaging with what. And you would bring in someone to help them. An example would be our company just partnered with Wise Agent.
Yes, I saw your interview with my girl, Eleni.
Yeah, Eleni. And so I interviewed her because this is the new platform, but it's also the platform I'm going to engage with. And when I went and looked at their blog posts, they have so many ways that they're giving you to engage with your customer relationship management system, your CRM. Mm-hmm. And so I would like for you to think of 2 tracks, one for new agents, one for more senior agents. Ask your broker to invest in Restream. I think it's $480 a year. You stream live to multiple platforms, and then you come back, you have that video in the system, you set it up as an event. It will post a notification that, at 2 a.m., this video is going to go live, and it will automate, because you want to create basically your own education video channel.
Okay.
But you want to solve the needs and the wants of all of your agents. And I like to streamline my processes.
Right.
One with repurposing the content, and then making sure it's facilitating multiple purposes.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And it can be used for recruiting too.
Actually, yeah, the recruiting aspect of it is phenomenal, because everybody who I recruit, I've put in 6 and 12. Mm-hmm. And when I look at that income, that's great extra money from my recruiting efforts. My goal was to get to $60,000 this year just on the recruiting side of the business. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna fall a little short of 60, but I make, actually, because I don't carry any debt, my recruiting alone covers all of my monthly expenditures.
Nice.
Before any of this other stuff, we got that. So it will allow you to recruit. And I don't know if you have a bonus override system, whatever the case may be for your recruiting efforts, but definitely now you have what other brokerages don't have in your marketplace. You're also creating visibility for you to be the thought leader in your marketplace.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that. So my next question is, when it comes to Facebook versus Instagram, I will be the first one to admit that I need to step up my Instagram game.
Okay.
For real, I have never created a reel. Okay.
Oh,
So
okay.
my question is, do you think it's possible for an agent to be successful on one platform and not spend as much time on another platform? Or should we try to spread ourselves evenly? Because I know both platforms are popular, but I just feel like I just don't have the time to really, really get things up on my Instagram page as
So a
much
couple
as I would like.
so a couple of things is, how do you repurpose your content from Facebook to Instagram? I'll tell you right now, when you are posting to Facebook, there's a new engagement tool that you can go from Facebook to Instagram. So a lot of my posts are doing better on Instagram, even though I posted them to Facebook.
Okay.
Okay. I would say the goal, I wouldn't look at the two platforms. I would look at, how am I going to get people into my customer relationship management system from whatever platform that you're using, and then use that platform. So if it's Facebook, the real question is, how am I gonna get them off of Facebook into my customer relationship management system? Because a couple of weeks ago, Facebook and Instagram went down.
Right.
Right. And so I wasn't really that concerned, because I have so many people in my customer relationship management system that I could communicate effectively with people for days and not be on a social platform.
Right.
And that is what you really, how do we now set up these landing pages and get people off of Facebook into your customer relationship management system? And you could forego that second platform. Now, I think I might have mentioned a couple of weeks ago, I decided that I was going to let go of Snapchat, TikTok, Clubhouse, and Twitter. And I have zero regrets. But I am hanging out on 4 platforms. The reason I keep LinkedIn is because it's the #1 business to business platform.
Right.
YouTube, because you can monetize YouTube, you can monetize Facebook Reels, you can monetize Instagram Reels. The reason I'm holding on to Instagram, one is because I've been over there for quite some time, almost a decade now. But my engagement numbers are phenomenal for my audience on Instagram, where I know that it's 80% female, ages 45 to 54, that are actually engaging with my content. So, but you can right now, and let me just give you some numbers. I'm going to go and just pull a post, and I'm going to tell you what the numbers look like on Facebook versus what the numbers look like on Instagram. So I posted a video on Facebook that went out over to Instagram. On Instagram, this one video received, let me do this one, 2,090 views. Now, mind you, I'd already posted this video before, but 2,090 views. If I was to come back and look at what those numbers were on Facebook, let me scroll down just a little bit. I got to go to last week. It's easier to find your content on Instagram versus on Facebook. But hold on, I'm almost there. If not, I'm going to pick a different video for you. That video on Facebook received 554 views. Mind you, I posted it about, actually, it's the video from Celebration. So I've posted that video 2 times in the past, about once a year I post it. So 554 views on Facebook versus 2,000 views on Instagram. So you can share your content from Facebook to Instagram.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. If not, then focus on Facebook, but make sure that you have a landing page and you are getting people through your videos and your call to action to, so these numbers are unreal, to come over to your landing page in order to build up that customer relationship management system.
Right. Awesome. Thank you for that. Speaking of your Instagram, earlier you posted on your Instagram.
I know what I posted. Okay, let me go to the post. I know exactly what I posted. I'm listening.
Earlier you posted a short story about how you turned a no into 6 and 12. Can you please share that with us? What was the event? I know you were looking to get some coaching, and the person, you said you were a little wishy-washy, and the person said, no, not this time. And you turned that no into this phenomenal platform. So can you share that story?
Yes. So how did we get here today?
Yes.
Last year on Black Friday, a young lady by the name of Danielle Pierce made a post. Danielle stated that she was going to earn 7 figures last year and that she had a $100,000 Black Friday special. She had earned $100,000 over the course of the weekend. Well, over the course of that day. So I'm like, oh, because she was at 88,000. So she was like, this is a Black Friday special, right? Thank you very much. And so I've known Danielle probably 13, 14 years. I knew that she was trustworthy, but she was my student in the BPOR course. So I'm taking you back some time.
Yes.
Once she took the BPOR course, she got married and she birthed 3 children. At one time, she had like 3 kids under the age of 4, right? And I've just seen her growth. So I'm like, well, what did I do wrong that I don't have me a 6-figure Black Friday special and I'm not earning 7 figures, right? And so she posted Thomas Stovall. Now, I'd already seen Thomas Stovall because he was friends with the director of education from Lead Pages, who left Lead Pages and went over to Active Campaign. So I'm kind of putting these pieces together online and who's making what happen for who. I also knew that Thomas was the mentor coach who helped not only Danielle Pierce get to 7 figures, but helped Danielle Leslie get to $10 million in sales. How did I know that? When I was on his website, I saw a picture of Danielle Leslie at his mentoring group. Okay. So I'm just kind of sitting back. I'm putting the pieces together. So I invest in Thomas Stovall's Black Friday special. And he practiced what he preaches. So as I'm going through the class, he then slides into my inbox and asked me, what was I trying to do? And essentially sent me a questionnaire. So I filled the questionnaire out and we had a couple of, phone calls and emails. And he sent me his pricing. And when he sent me his pricing, I'm like, oh, I've never spent that type of money on anything ever in my life, right? So I tell him, no, I don't want to do that level of work with him, even though I'd already bought his class. And he said, okay. And he says, well, if I was you, this is what I would do. And he break the numbers down and tell me what I should do. So I said, okay. So I sleep on it. And Skylar was like, Mom, scared money don't make money. Do you have the money?
Skylar knew what was up.
Right. And I said, I do have the money. So I went back to Thomas and I said, oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I know scared money don't make money. I tell him this whole story. Is it possible we could work together? And he says, that will be a no for now. And in the pardon gift, he adds additional details to it. So at this moment, or at that moment, I'm feeling punked, right? First of all, who tell me no when they charge a boatload of money for their stuff? I'm like, okay. So he let me know money is not his objective, right? Even though he make a lot of money. He's like, nope. And so my feelings were hurt, first of all. And then
your fees.
Yeah. Then he gonna come back and he gonna say, so take the pardon gift, right? Take that as a gift. And this is also what I would do. Then he had the gall in the process to consistently follow up with me, like every 5 to 6 days, right? I'm like, dude is playing with me, right? But I'm like, oh, so he think I'm not gonna do this? Oh, not a problem. Let me show him, right? And so exactly what he told me to do, I did it. And I would reference back to his class what I needed to implement in order to make things happen. And so so we hadn't really talked in a year. And then he reached out to me a couple of weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. He's working with another client, Lenore Sherman. Let me say this. I already knew they was working together because I saw a post again on the internet. So I was like, okay, she's working with Thomas. And he was like, he wanted to discuss an affiliate agreement with me in regards to her product that she was doing. And I said, okay. And he was like, but I would like to sit down and talk to you about some things that I'm doing and see if we have a synergy and if we could work together in the future. So we met for lunch the other day at the Soho House. And the synergy was there, and we're going to test some things together, because what I know is Danielle Leslie got to $10 million. I know that Danielle Pierce got to $1 million. I understand that the director of education for Lead Pages was his partner. So I'm understanding and seeing the circle, but he's smart.
And just for everybody listening, you're not talking about 10 million in sales, right? You're talking.
Oh, she did $10 million in sales in one calendar year.
In sales. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, she did. Well, so let me clarify. $10 million.
Right.
She doesn't sell real estate. So her company earned $10 million in one calendar year. And then Danielle Pierce company earned, and Danielle Pierce, she's all about property preservation. Her courses and program earned her $1 million.
Gotcha.
In the midst of getting a divorce, relocating, and birthing 3 children.
Wow.
So these are the people, like, I've been following them. I understood their story. I trusted them, which is how I trusted him. Mm-hmm. Right. So that's how we birthed 6 figures in 12 months, because that man told me no with a straight face, and he meant it. He's like, no, I'm not taking your money. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So what's funny is Carrie Little and Sarah Ware, they joke all the time. When he told me no, they was like, Marky, we're just calling to check on you today. How does that no feel? Like, they was rubbing it in, because I'm like, this dude told me no, but here's your parting gift. So, yes.
He planted a seed and didn't know it.
Yeah, well, he did plant the seed, and he followed up, and guess what? He's used me in his case examples. So yesterday when we had lunch, he was like, it's okay for you to share with the world what I did for you. Because I would talk about them, right? But always signifying, right? And I was like, okay. And I kind of signified in the post, because I told him, I said, I'm still trying to decide if my feelings are hurt by your no, right? But I'm clear that as a result of working with him, well, through me buying his course, a couple of email course, and mind you, we had never met face to face.
Okay.
And he lives 6 blocks from me, but we had never met face to face. That it changed everything.
Gotcha.
He got me off the. I got up off the toilet. I got off the pot.
And you're going to the bank, and you're changing people's lives.
Yeah, so it's been fabulous, and it was something that was on my to-do list. So it was on my Emerge Better list of things to do. It's the one thing that I waited until the absolute last moment to do, out of whatever fear or roadblocks that I was having. So when I go back and I look at the list of things that I wanted to accomplish, essentially I've accomplished those things. Nice. So now it is, how do we make it better and continue to grow?
Nice. I love it. All right. So
that was a good question.
Thank you. All right. Let's talk about some mental health. So you had your own challenges with COVID in your family.
Yes.
And I would like to know, how did you manage the stress of dealing with COVID and running a business? Because I feel like when I talk to a lot of people, I'm learning that a lot of my friends, clients, they're really stressed out. And I feel like people are projecting one thing on social media, and offline, different things are going on. And I did talk to my good friend Kara today, and she was telling me how a friend of hers got this t-shirt for her that says thankful, blessed, and a little bit of a hot mess. And I said, you know what, that pretty much sums up 2021. So can you share, when you have mental challenges, how you, what mechanisms you use, how you have gotten through the challenges that you overcame in 2021?
So I'm gonna be honest, I got a lot to say on this subject. The first one is, I believe in therapy. All right. So
me too.
I have a therapist.
Me too.
Mentally, the hardest challenge for me was when Skylar was in college, and I realized that I loved him. I did not like him. Okay. I like him and I love him now, but I understand the difference in a love-like relationship. Okay. So therapy first and foremost. 2, I have been baptized twice because I didn't know it the first time took. So I have great faith. I do have the faith of a mustard seed. I'm just saying I had to go back to make sure, wasn't quite sure. And the first time I was a child, I was 9 years old. So as an adult, I was rebaptized.
Right. And let me just say for the non-Black people in the audience, therapy has been really, really taboo in the Black community.
It is.
So it's a huge thing to go to therapy. And it's something that I personally feel is needed, and it doesn't need to have a stigma affiliated with it.
Most definitely. And when I went to therapy, I've publicly talked about going to therapy because I understood the stigma in the Black community, but I also understood the benefits.
Right.
And what was so funny was one day when I was leaving therapy, she says, good luck this week, because I know you're going to have a rough time. And it was like kind of funny, but it was, because therapy is not about you fixing anyone. It's about you getting right with the situation. Exactly. And so you have to put that work in, because not once did she tell me to change Skylar. I had to change. And I saw that over us dealing, because I had to focus a lot of time on Skylar because it just broke my heart that, I'm paying his rent, I'm paying his tuition, but I'm like, oh, I'm gonna dread the day this boy come home and I'm subject to lay hands on him. So we got over that. But how did I really navigate it? I've already lost everything twice. And so in losing everything twice, the pandemic, I was already mentally prepared from losing everything and the great comeback. Okay. Mm-hmm. What I did different this time was I got laser beam focused early before things got out of control because of my past experiences. Gotcha. I went through a major lawsuit with my family in 1999. I had to transition very quickly. I didn't then and still do not like my father's sister. I was alienated from my family. It was a lot that went with that, right? So to me, that was probably the hardest thing I've ever had to endure. Mm-hmm. So the pandemic to me was kind of like, it's another obstacle. Also, I believe that a lot of people in real estate, if they've been in real estate since at least 2005, we were all suffering from post-traumatic stress syndrome as a result of the foreclosure crash, right? And so I had already known that I had financially lost everything the first time going through the lawsuit, but then again, when the foreclosure crisis hit. And to me, I would have never saved enough money for how long that process had lasted, right? Mm-hmm. So when the pandemic comes, it's sort of like, okay, first thing I did was I checked my bank account and I realized I could kind of hang out at home until that first month hit, right? And you haven't generated any revenue and you got to go to your savings. I said, oh, that very first month that I had to pay bills out of my savings, I was like, nope, don't want to do this. Don't like how this feels at all. Right. So what you gonna do, Marky? Oh, we got to figure a way to generate other streams of income. Okay. Only because I hated that feeling. Okay.
Right. Yeah. That's not a good feeling at all.
Absolutely not. The next thing was the first 8 weeks were difficult in my house because everyone came home at one time. My husband was at home dealing with COVID. Austin came home from 7th grade. Skylar, who's a consultant at Accenture, he was forced home. And I, who would have spent 100 nights per year on the road, I was forced home. And everyone was in everyone's space.
Gotcha.
So I'm just praying, hey, we're going to make it through this we're going to make it through whatever this season is.
Right. And at the time, nobody knew how long it was going to last. I mean, talking with my friends, we were like, oh, we'll be back in 2 weeks, 30 days. No.
What saved us was once the weather changed in the city of Chicago, the utilization of our deck. And we had never used, we used our deck more in 2020 than we used it in the previous 9 years that we had lived here. Okay. The ability for us to go outside, get fresh air, use our grills. I would drink my coffee in the morning out there. I 100% believe that we changed. Then when the social unrest came, it kind of bonded us together, right? But then I was mad, and I knew I was mad because Grammarly told me that my language had changed. And I said, well, I have to get over being mad. So I had to start working on shifting my mindset while reading a book, The Color of Law, and all these books. Like I was hot, right? And then I stopped reading it, right? Because I had digested enough. And I said, Marky, you're responsible for this change. So therapy, relying on my faith, understanding that this too shall pass based on previous loss, and getting outside and getting some fresh air.
Fresh air makes a huge difference.
Yes.
You have people close in, like in Northern Virginia, where I am, people close to the city in the condos, they're like, bye, I'm going to the suburbs where I can get a yard, I can walk around and see some trees. Yep.
And a lot of the country decided to also leave bigger cities for smaller cities, right? And for what they figured to be a Zoom town. Even now, Montana, Wyoming, New Hampshire, these are still some of the most searched states right now because people want to change the quality of their life.
Nice. Good. Thank you for that.
Yes. I need.
How are we looking on time?
You keep going with your questions.
All right. So my next question is, I want you to talk about resistance. So offline, I recently forwarded you an email newsletter, and I believe it was from Housing Wire. And the person who wrote the article, I can't remember her name, but the person was expressing frustration about attending a conference, and she felt that there was absolutely no diversity on the panel of speakers that were there. So I am curious to know, in your travels, have you ever encountered resistance when you were either invited or you wanted to participate in something?
Once they invite me, no. So the thing is, they know who they're hiring. That's the joy of the internet. They're not confused at all.
Or surprised
when I show up, because they've researched me. And I know they've researched me because I can see how people are looking at me online. So at the moment that they decide to reach out to me to do a virtual call to hire me, they are 100% okay with who Marky Lemons-Ryhal is. What I haven't had the opportunity to focus on the resistance since about 2012, because I'm consistently growing and I'm going on some of the same stages twice and I'm booked, right? If I was not booked, I could definitely start focusing on the resistance. I will say this year at Inman, Katie Lance, Chelsea Pites, and we did a 2-hour session. And historically, that is a gentleman's stage, right? Katie and I had an online conversation via Twitter a couple of years ago, because I didn't know if it was racism. I thought it was racism. I thought that, on the stages I wasn't on, it was because I was Black. What I came to realize was that it's more sexism in our industry than there likely is racism, or they're both high, right? So we're a female-dominated industry, but the men are in the leadership roles to make the mass majority of the decisions for a bunch of women, right? So from Katie, I realized that women overall have an issue with the lack of diversity that's on stage. And as I tell people, I am clear that I am willing to go anywhere because I think that everybody should have a Black person experience. Okay. And I was in Gillette, Wyoming a couple of weeks ago. And as I am getting ready to, deplane, I always know when I'm in a smaller rural town, right, and they don't have a drawbridge, that this is getting ready to be, I'm likely going to be the only person. And that's what happened in Gillette. Well, when I'm leaving, I'm getting off the plane. I said, oh, I feel like an executive because I'm expanding territory. So I realized that I always like being on that little tiny airplane, going somewhere, because it gives me the opportunity to expand territory. But also a lot of people in those locations have never personally interacted with anyone Black. They haven't had the chance to hug. They haven't had the chance to learn from. So to me, I'm getting excited, right? Because I'm going to make your Black experience, woo, we can ready to have a good time. And it's worked very well for me. And I do believe that I'm changing people's minds, and I'm also changing their hearts, no matter what race they are, right? Because they get to see different. They get to interact with different. So do I know that there's resistance out there? Yes. Am I clear that we need diversity? Look, sexism is real, racism is real. Yes. And so my job, to me, is to continue to push forward, and not only push forward, but also make recommendations for other minorities. And I'll give you an example of what happened. I think I talked about this in our board leadership. When I successfully thought I had raised $50,000 for the 77, which is the diversity committee of the Chicago Association of Realtors, I found out at the National Association of Realtors conference, I had raised over $80,000. So let me get y'all straight that, right? But in the midst of me raising this $80,000, I realized that we had fellow realtors, Latalo McGee and Whitney Hampton, who had started a board up cleanup committee. And I was like, oh, that's great. But I also knew that they didn't know people in the media. They didn't have a connect at Realtor Magazine. They don't know the owner of Chicago Agent Magazine. They don't know the owner of Chicago Real Producers Magazine, but I do. And I have been called upon to do things for all of them. So once I realized that Latalo McGee and Whitney Hampton were out here doing all of this great work as realtor representatives, I reached out to those 3 news sources. I didn't email them. I picked up the phone and I called them. And I said, hey, I'm clear you don't know what's going on the South Side. Let me tell you what's happening, and can you give them some media coverage? All 3 of them. The editor of Realtor Magazine sent someone. The owner of Chicago Agent Magazine sent someone. The owner of Real Producer Magazine sent someone. Andy Burton, I met with him before the pandemic. I said, look, your numbers in your magazine are based on volume, but we live in a racially and economically segregated city. And I have agents on the South Side of Chicago who are closing 2 to 3 times more deals, and they'll never get to that dollar volume. I believe that they need to be highlighted in Real Producer magazines based on units sold. Andy.
Absolutely, they do.
Absolutely. Let me tell you what Andy did. Andy reached out to Kevin Rocio. He's been featured in the magazine. Zeke Morris, Nakia Pipian McGriff. He did put Latalo and Whitney Hampton on the cover. Sarah Ware, Sheila Dantzler Rugate. Now, some of these people don't even know how they in this magazine, because I told Andy, we need to clean this up. Now, it took Andy 3 years to get everyone who I recommended for him to have in his magazine, but I'm clear they've been in the magazine, right? So I had to call him and leave him a voicemail. About a week ago, I'm like, Andy, you showed up and showed out. Right. Because I'm looking and I realize I've seen every person I mentioned to you. Thank you for including them. So you can't be selfish when you have the opportunity, right? You gotta acknowledge other people.
Yes, ma'am.
Here's the next thing. Erica Villas, she's an owner in a Remax. She says, Marky, I seen what Andy did for you. I reached out to him because I think the Hispanic community needs to be highlighted as well.
Absolutely.
Exactly. You sure enough. And guess what? They've had their meeting. So I'm pretty sure some of the people that she's recommended based on units sold will now have that opportunity to shine. So I 100% believe that we got to push and pull. And
Right.
Frank Williams, who's now just celebrated his 50th anniversary, single-handedly changed my real estate education career. He put me in a position I could have taken his job. It's how good he positioned me. But I always remembered that he made that phone call to Deb Lopes at the Chicago Association of Realtors. And Andy sent the email, which at the time he was technology challenged, but he sent the email. And he said, look, I'm not sure if Baby Dow can teach or not, but I want you to give her a chance. And Deb gave me a chance. And I've worked at the Chicago Association of Realtors ever since 2006.
Nice.
So, if you have the opportunity, you want to share that opportunity with someone who you know. Don't just share the opportunity. I'm laughing. I'm going to tell you why. Don't just share the opportunity. Share the opportunity with somebody you know will show up and show out. And the reason I'm laughing, when I went out for the recent board of directors to come back on the board, the interview, and we're good friends, he says, Marky, is the goal just to meet a DEI requirement or to find the best talent? And I pushed my chair back, right? This is me in the meeting. I pushed my chair back. I ain't gonna say his name for the world to hear it. I pushed my chair back. I said, are you talking to me? You asking me that question? So it take everybody on my board. They like to mimic me, the whole nominating committee. They said, me? And so I leaned forward. I said, let me explain something to you. I want the absolute best. Meeting a DEI requirement is not my goal. I said, but how you gonna ask the smartest person with the most degrees that question? I said, don't nobody on this call today have an undergrad degree, a master's degree, and 64 real estate related licenses, designations, and certifications. I pride myself on excellence. I don't care what color you are. And so he looked, his ass got big.
You snatched his edges.
Well, I'm thinking to myself, and he told me, because he was trying to get me. He says, well, I really did save the question for you, Marky. Right? I'm like, look, I'm not just preaching diversity, equity, and inclusion. I want you to have the best of the best. And what was funny about the conversation, Tommy Choi, who's a recent, was he a liaison or VP to Charlie Oppler? We had just had a conversation about Skylar, my son. And I said, I don't think Skylar's ready. And I wouldn't have my own child coming in here mucking up the real estate industry.
Absolutely.
I'm 100% serious about excellence, period.
Right.
Yeah, no, we're not going to do that. So I think that might have, I probably went into too many details, but you're clear now, right?
I'm very crystal clear. Thank you. Thank you for that. But it's also a good segue into my next question. How important is it to get away from our local market and travel for real estate? And this is specifically for the agents with us who maybe have been in the business for years, but have never gotten away to a conference or a training outside of their market. And I love to get outside of my market and meet people. But from your bird's eye view, just explain how important it is to get outside your market and attend these trainings and conferences.
I am substantially smarter as a result, but let me tell you what I realized. There isn't a sheet of paper sliced so thin there aren't two sides to it. And life is not black or white. There are numerous shades of gray. So I'm learning about different marketplaces. When I went to Gillette, Wyoming, okay, I learned all about ranches, right? And raising, what are those, the little horses, right? And I'm like, I would have never learned about that.
Right.
Right. In the city of Chicago.
In the city of Chicago.
Everyone, I had on some Yeezy gym shoes. Everyone in Wyoming knew that I had on Yeezys because Kanye owns 2 ranches. One is up for sale right now. Right. So they knew my shoes based on the fact that he owned land there. That blew my mind. Like, and so also when we start looking at building referral business, you're likely going to receive those referrals if you have the opportunity to meet someone face to face. I think everybody should look at the Redfin migration map to understand if people are leaving, where they're going, and if they're coming, where they're coming from, so that we can start to not only get the transaction here, but a referral either on the buy or the sale in another location.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely 100% we should attend conferences. I'm over conferenced, right? Because I'm attending up to 100 per year, but I learned something new at least 100 times per year.
Mm-hmm.
I was in, where was I? Utah, and realized they still have a Sizzler. I'm like,
I remember Sizzler. They used to have Sizzlers in Virginia.
So I took a picture because we don't have any in our marketplace. I didn't even know Sizzler was still open, right? So it could be just the smallest of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I realized, oh, Sizzler's still open. And look, I have a picture to prove it.
Right.
And I love the salad buffet at Sizzler. So there you go. Just
Awesome.
those small little things.
Awesome. So I want to focus our attention on the lurkers, because I know sometimes I fall into lurkdom because I love education. I love absorbing knowledge, and sometimes I am slow to execute. So specifically to the people who are watching, who have been watching you for a long time, whether you're on the Facebook group or if you're in the 6 and 12 membership and you haven't done anything, what do you have to say to those people?
It's very easy to lurk. I tell myself, Marky, this is what you have to take care of first. So every single day, I put my phone on the charger and I just do work. That's all I do is work. But it's easier to just work if you use one of the social media management platforms
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that you're putting the content out, and then you come back and communicate.
Gotcha.
We have to put this device down.
Mm-hmm.
We have to. So today I worked on cleaning up emails because I've added 962 new people to my email marketing list as a result of attending the Realtor Conference and Expo. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's the value of a conference. And so I needed to make sure that everything was tagged properly. Some of them joined the Real Estate Live group. You might see that I just tagged 130 people, 136 people, right? Well, all of them are in my customer relationship management system. So now I can take this relationship to an entirely different level. But if we don't take the time to stop scrolling, right? And if you're going to scroll, I would say take an action. One of the actions would be something that Annette Anthony does. She calls it 7 Things for 7 People by 7 a.m. Give people something of value. Do something for them. Send them something as a result of something that they posted based on their Ford. A Ford, F-O-R-D, is something about their family, their occupation, their recreation, and their dreams. So if you're going to lurk, make it work for you. That means you have to communicate in some form or fashion or give something of value to others.
Gotcha. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Not
Hopefully that will bring some people out of lurkdom and into action.
Into action. Take 7 things by 7 a.m. for 7 people.
I love it. I love it.
Yes.
And one of the things that I encourage our agents to do right now is to not check out for the end of the year. So if you had to give us one thing to do between now and December 31st, what would that be?
Besides a business plan, I want you to really work on your avatar. Who is your target audience? Go back and look at those numbers. Be very clear. My brand has evolved in the past year, keeping in mind that 70% of my audience is female. And I am almost at the point that I want to feel like the Women's Council, right? There are men in the Women's Council, but it is really focused on women because my audience is so strong with females. And that is something that you got to do. So
we got someone out of Lurkdom, Joey. Yes.
Thank you. Now, Joey, stay out of Lurkdom. I'm gonna tell you that because Joey has been down there selling acres, baby, in Tennessee. And I met Joey when I was in Knoxville. So one thing just to keep in mind, if you know that audience, it's gonna make things easier. But this is something that I started sharing with people in the last couple of weeks. Because I teach the digital marketing class for the council, for the Residential Real Estate Council, there's a case study that says the average age of a first-time home buyer is 32 years old. How would you engage with them? And honestly, I wouldn't. And the reason I wouldn't as a 51-year-old woman is because, one, I'm a 2-income household. That also, at 51, you've had some raises, right?
So you've had some what?
You've had some raises in life, right? Some promotions, some raises. Also, you've likely already bought and sold a house. Okay. So with that being said, that 32-year-old cannot afford to buy what it is that I'm selling. Keep it in mind, the promotion, the raises, the equity you got from the first house, and the fact that I am a 2-income household. You got to know who your target audience is. And you don't want to attract everybody. I'm just going to roll out with my girls, is what I'm calling them, my girls, age 45 to 54. And we're going to roll this on into retirement. I don't need the younger audience. I need to dig deeper within my age bracket with people who are going through exactly what I'm going through. The fact that I live in a 2-story house, we all about ready for a 1-story house, okay? The condo, the
first knee replacement.
The knee replacement, the hip replacement, the arthritis, the rheumatoid arthritis, right? Oh, yeah. So and we can laugh and talk about it, right? So I'm clear about that target audience, the business plan, but you really need to focus on who your target audience is to develop a solid business plan. Who are you trying to attract and do business with?
Awesome. Awesome sauce. Thank you, Ms. Markey.
Thank you. Thank you very much.